Hi everyone, this is about finding a job in Seattle. So if you're looking for a job in Seattle, it's not just Seattle, it's also Portland and Vancouver. Here's a quick little zoom in on how it looks like in Seattle area. Seattle used to be filled with a big glacier, lots of snow, and then it moved. So I just wanted you to be aware of all the job markets in the area: Everett, Bellevue, and Tacoma. From the airplane you'll see this area, which is a great area for looking for work. Seattle can be divided into the north side and south side. Before we get into all the details of looking for work, I want you to get you a good idea about what the city looks like. So let's start to look at Seattle a little bit more carefully here. When you land in Seattle, it typically looks like from this angle. There's a lot of jobs all over the city, but this is the main financial district. It's called Pioneer Square, and also just the general downtown area. Now, I-5 runs just up the center of Seattle, but be careful about I-5. Here's a list of the main occupations. As you can see, most people make about $25 to $30 an hour. I also circled the computer and healthcare related jobs in yellow in this here. The top is the average for the entire city, and that's circled in pink. You can see it's 25 to 30. I don't trust these numbers, so I also did some of my own numbers, giving it $20 to $30 an hour with $60,000 to $65,000 a year salary. Since I'm interested in computer science and computers, I focused on the computer market, but I also added sales, food, education, healthcare, construction, and media and arts. All this data is available from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Seattle has a pretty large economy, about $356 billion. What I'm doing for searching for work is looking at all the major downtown buildings and looking at their tenant list. After you find the building that you're interested in working in, do a tenant search or occupant list for the building and find out all the companies there. This image does not show everything, it's just a small sample. Here's some images of the top largest buildings in Seattle. I thought it'd be helpful to start with this so we can just go through and look at the biggest buildings in Seattle. Let's suppose you're interested in working in one of these buildings. Let's pick out one of them and see if we can find out who's there and how to get a job there. So you'll probably have a ton of buildings you're really interested in, but pick just a few of them that you're super interested in and start with those. Here's kind of a general downtown view. What I did is I zoomed in to where I was interested in, then added some features like the roads, and then also added details more. These images here are all from Google Earth. Here's another zoom in. This happens to be the area near Amazon on the north side of Seattle. So here's the south side, and you can see near the stadiums, just a little bit north of the stadiums here is kind of like a startup district area. There's like smaller buildings, possibilities maybe for some work. with some startups, and also on the other side of the freeway, there's some options. I'm not sure exactly, but there looks like smaller buildings in these areas. Here's the other startup bill on the north side. You can see that it's not, might be, basically about the same, but it has a few buildings that are interesting. It may be a little bit more fun, who knows, to work on the north side. Um, but these are the ideas, and really just the Space Needle on kind of the north side of downtown. I'd also say it's maybe a little more family oriented on the north side and water oriented. There's a lot of really interesting business districts in Seattle. These red lines really worried me for some reason. You can also see what's going on the north side, which is super interesting. It's also really important to realize that Seattle has a lot of very, very important business going on the south side and possibly even in the north side. Next, we're going to look at some Seattle buildings and details about them. So, surprisingly, this building was the tallest building in Seattle at one point. However, basically two black buildings in the area. One is the Safeco building, and the other building is the one. So I wanted to start with the tallest building in all of Seattle, the Columbia Center. So if you're superstitious, this would be an interesting building, and it's actually surprising how many companies are actually in this building simply because it's the tallest building in Seattle. An interesting yet small building is this Smith Tower building. It was actually one of the tallest. But really, this was one of the smallest buildings. At least today it is very small. For computer science, I was particularly interested in this F5 tower. In Seattle, there are a lot of old Washington Mutual buildings. This is one of them, and it's very interesting to see the tenant lists. Some buildings are a lot more interesting and have a lot more history than others. Here's the location of that last building you just saw, called Union. If you want a map like this, go to Wikimaps. Wikimaps is awesome for looking at buildings. This building really started to scare me because as I did some more research, I discovered that it was perhaps one of the starts of the major crash and financial crisis. However, I would say one good thing about a financial catastrophe is that it usually opens up cheaper real estate and cheaper office buildings for newer and smaller businesses. So it looks like what happened here is that the Washington Mutual building was built close to the Pikes Place market. And they did that on purpose, but they tried to take advantage of some of the real estate in the area and then eventually failed, which was kind of part of the catastrophe. Some of the buildings will definitely have more variety of businesses than others. It's really interesting to see how many California-based companies have come up to Seattle and tried to relocate, including this Silicon Valley Bank. Some of these may have some very interesting history, like this 901 Fifth Avenue building. Here's the building called Amazon Tower 1. Amazon has a lot of buildings. Here's another one, Amazon Tower 2, and also the reInvent building. These are all near the Amazon spheres. So I just wanted to finish up with some Seattle quick facts for everybody. I thought this map was super interesting. It has the population distribution. It's not exactly a work-related map, but it's super interesting and can give you a very good idea of what's going on. The Metro map is also very helpful. It gives you an idea of how to get in and out of Seattle and also the key downtown areas that you need to be aware of when looking for work. Next we have housing. The housing prices are totally unbelievable. You can see that the prices have gone from $300,000 to over $700,000. Here's the location of recently sold homes all throughout the Seattle area. Here's the overall Seattle housing market statistics. The median wage for technical fields like computer science, basically in the dark blue, is about $70,000 per year. And healthcare is also super important. Here's a graph for artistic related professions and media. Here's kind of the global overview of the United States market for computer work. I wanted to also include sales jobs because they include a huge amount of work and possibilities. The other point is don't just look just in Seattle. Bellevue is just across from Seattle and also has a lot of great opportunities. And also really awesome is Tacoma, just south of Seattle. It also has a ton of opportunities. If you're interested in shipping, there's Everett, and that's perhaps one of the most interesting shipping areas in the world. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I wanted to close up with just Seattle at night from space.